So, another very special episode, guys. I don't know where to start. Like, I'm very excited to have Ace on, and I'm just going to read a little bit of bio of his. I mean, I told you prior to the interview a little bit before, I said this is always impresses me like a lot because I know if person come through whatever they came through, the struggles, the hustle, all that stuff, we already we're going to have some great stories. And that's why people
Absolutely.
tuned in here for. So in front of you guys, this is a very cool guest. His name is Ace Dunn. He's coming up from very humble beginnings, as he mentioned. No college education or rich uncle, major savings. Started from zero. I guess everybody starts from that. Well, at least most of us. Sold home and moved from capital to fund the business, hustling house flipper and small apartment flipper and owner, been in the business since 2016, currently closed on a first small duplex to buy and hold last quarter of last year, looking to go big and partner syndicate larger deals in the near future. Volunteering ministry is top of his priority as well. So just a
Absolutely.
big honor. It's a pleasure. And I'm very excited to have you on today, Ace. Appreciate it.
Look, Martina, I really appreciate you for having me, man. And I've been listening to a few of your podcast interviews, and I really appreciate what you're doing for real estate and the space, man. It's really an honor to be here on the podcast. So thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you, thank you. It's a pleasure is all mine. Because as you know, if you watch the previous interviews, I just love the stories, man. And people who are tuning in for these episodes, they feel exactly the same because you're into like it's gonna be special, particular because you're coming up like from zero. And I would love to talk about that. So maybe we can jump right in and maybe you can explain people like
Okay.
what was that zero? I mean, how this feels like to have a zero? Like what is
Man,
that?
well, it's interesting that you asked that, man. It feels pretty, you feel out of place, especially in this business, because you do get around a lot of people who have a lot of capital. They got a bunch of doors, they've done so much in the business.
Mhm.
So coming from that, it's like, okay, what do I do? How do I get to that point? What do I have to do to get to where that person is at? So you begin to hustle, you begin to brainstorm, you begin to come up with all these different ideas of what you can do. So that's basically what I did. Starting back in 2016, was living in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. That's where my businesses are set up there, Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And in 2016, there was a natural disaster that happened. And
Mm.
the whole area was flooded. About 60,000 homes got flooded. And
Wow.
mine was one of them. So with that, I was able to kind of get involved with real estate because I had to fix and flip my own home. And I started to deal with contractors, and I had a pretty decent contractor, but the subcontractors were bad. So it was just, one person doing this and the next person had to come in and fix what the other person did. And it was causing me such a big headache. But then I started to think, hmm, I could do this. I could be the investor. Um, how do I get started though? I fixed my house. How do I get started? You know, actually making some money off of this. So interestingly, in a way, my house is my first flip. It's the first one that I did to get into the business, and I didn't profit on it until the market rose because after a natural disaster, everything comes down. But when it got back to the top of it, I decided I wanted to sell my house and get that capital and start flipping homes and buying small apartments with it. So that's exactly what I did, but I didn't know what to do, you know.
Yeah.
So I got in touch with a local broker. His name is Phil, and a really good friend of mine. And he sat me down. I had like this nice little setup to what I wanted to do to get in the business, man. It was all good and cool. And then he started hitting me with terms like cash on cash return and IRR and stuff that I had never heard of before. And I'm like,
Mhm.
Phil, what are you talking about here? So I had the hustle, I had the drive, I had the passion already, but I didn't have any knowledge or experience. So that's when I realized, okay, what I don't have, I can either go out there and get or find somebody who does have it. So that's kind of like what birthed the business. Like I said, I still didn't have any money, but I had equity in my home. So, I made a pretty big decision there, and I decided to go ahead and sell that home. And when I sold it, the few dollars that I got from it, I started to invest in real estate, and that's been going for the last couple of years and been doing pretty decently. I have some stories with that too. But yeah, that's where it all got started, man.
That is awesome. Sorry, it's a great story, and again, you kind of went into the real estate. They kind of pushed you a little bit because of what
Mm-hmm.
happened with the natural disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a lot of people, decided maybe to start flipping or wholesaling after that.
Yeah,
I'm sure,
yeah,
So, but again, because that's the way we operate. Like you discovered, like you probably don't know, but your story is great because look, like disaster happened, like man, I'm losing my home, like all these people lost their home. It's the worst case like thing going on right now, but look, you
right.
turned it into the positive thing after, like your life just shifted from that.
Yeah,
So just a lesson to learn, whatever's going on in your life, whatever bad thing is going on currently, that could be the shift that
yeah,
is going to come out at the positive, at the good end,
yeah,
sometime in the future. So I
yeah,
love that, man. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
so why particular like flipping houses? And so what do you do? I'm just looking at the bio. So flipping houses, mainly small apartments as well. So is that in a Baton Rouge, or are you flipping that in a different states?
That's in Baton Rouge and in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi is about 2 hours away from Baton Rouge, and
Okay.
a bit in New Orleans as well. So it is a good market for flipping in that area because, like I say, it's still kind of on the rise, but it's kind of capping a little bit now because we are in the market cycle here. So it is still quite profitable flipping, but really we're flipping to kind of transition into more buy and hold.
Hmm.
Buy and hold is what we're trying to do in small apartment buildings, but also we want to get a little bit bigger, a little bit larger. So that's what we're doing right now, putting together a team so that we can start working towards that here in the very short future.
Got it. So first of
Mhm.
all, my question would be like for somebody who is watching and thinking like, first of all, what is this flipping? You're talking about water and flipping. Does it have to do with that? And like, how do you even like what's the money making process into that? Like, and at the end, why did you decided to move into the multifamily? Because you can make a lot of money in flipping houses.
Absolutely, absolutely. Multifamily is definitely a much safer investment, and as time passes, you get to profit from so many different forms of multifamily. Which I notice sometimes you have a cash flow hat on.
Yeah, yeah.
Cash flow is king. So with multifamily, you can pretty much write out a blueprint to retire. If you work in a full-time job like I do have a full-time job. I work about 70, 75 hours a week. But you're just thinking about possibly retiring in 3 to 5 years with multifamily, it is very possible. It can be done. But with flipping, flipping is pretty much a one-time check every time you do it. So it in itself is really a job. Now, if someone really loves rehabbing, someone really loves construction, which I do. When I was in high school, I took a trade for it, and I really do love construction. For someone like that who could actually see themselves having a career in it, it is a good way to start raising capital, especially if you're in the right market. Now, every market is not conducive for flipping houses. In certain markets, you're almost guaranteed to lose money. You might lose money in a good market.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's something that you want to really educate yourself on, in a sense, have a good mentor, maybe an unofficial mentor. I can't really just recommend a certain guru or nothing like that because I haven't myself personally, dealt with any of them, but somebody who knows what they're doing in in flipping houses. You need to talk to them. You can find them at your local meetups, somebody in the community. You're going to see who's doing it. So if you want to do something like that, I definitely recommend that you talk to somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. That's one of the keys not for not losing money. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
you have to talk with the right people that are actively involved in the business. And you see that in the
Absolutely.
multifamily space, there is a lot of people, again, educating other people. Some of them are not active. And you want people, you want to get an advice for people who are like, they have their feet on the ground and they doing that stuff like daily.
Yeah.
So, because I'm just thinking, while you're talking about the flipping, I'm just remembering like all the investors that I know, like locally, like in Europe and Ireland.
Hmm. Hmm.
And these guys and girls, there seems like they're sophisticated enough in the space, like people know them because of that. Because again, it's a different ball game. Like the game in Europe is a little bit different comparing to the States, because we don't have as much multifamily available. We do have
Right.
it, but it's kind of an A class that only the
Uh,
Blackstone or JP
yeah.
Morgan can buy. So I mean,
Hmm.
people don't have that much of a capital or probably connections to even take down with the syndications.
Right.
But like, would you think like if those deals are not accessible, like let's say in Europe, and there is no, like retail, maybe I can do retail, maybe hotels, maybe restaurant. So what is the like exit strategy for these guys if they're saying like no more flipping, I want to do something else?
Well, I would say if you get to that point to where it's no more flipping, I want to do something else,
Hmm.
I would definitely go straight into multifamily or buy and hold. Now, when I just say buy and hold, it can be single family homes. We're not going to focus on that, us personally, but I do think that single family homes are a very good investment. And a lot of people are still doing it. They're still getting into it, and they're still making a lot of money off of it. So buying and holding is one thing about being able to get into a property, um, raise the rents, refinance it. I know you probably heard of the Burr strategy.
Hmm.
Man, you can really make a lot of money in real estate just using that strategy. So if you're gonna say, okay, I'm not gonna fix and flip anymore, but I want to put my money into something that's still gonna make me a pretty good return and maybe a little bit more delayed, I definitely feel like buying cold, even if it's single family, is a good investment. It's a great investment, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends on the strategy that you're buying. If you're using the burst strategy, buying houses that, but like you probably know the man. His name is Dean Graziosi.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably familiar. He has a couple of books, and you probably guys who are watching, you familiar with him as well. Great
Mhm.
guy, very intelligent. Sophisticated. Like
Yeah.
people look at him as a god, right?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
but what I'm trying to say here, because he's been on an interview and I watched the interview, and the guy, and you probably know that he owned like 1,500 houses or something, like just crazy amount of houses. So that
Hmm.
means signing a mortgage every time you buy a house. So 1,500 mortgages instead
Yeah.
of, let's say, if you get a big enough deal, let's say it's a 300 units
Hmm.
multifamily complex, let's say 100. So
Yeah.
that's 15 transactions instead of 1,500 transactions.
Yeah.
First of all,
Yeah.
and second of all, what he said, because where we are positioned like wise in the economy, he said,
Hmm.
I will get rid of all the houses until this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm listening to it. I'm like, if Dean Graziosi is saying like, I'm looking to get rid of, and I see still people going around and buying, like he's selling and you're buying. So like, who's right in that moment? So
Yeah.
I just always question things and say like, if it's even makes sense.
Absolutely.
Like if you mentioned that cash flow hat, you probably know
Hmm.
where the hat has come from. Like there's people around saying like house is a bad investment, which
Hmm.
I had previous, guest show, people just like yourself, they're saying, they do successfully invest in it,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
houses.
Yeah.
But, it's just everybody's strategy is different.
Yeah. It depends on your strategy, man. It depends on how much capital you have, how much access to capital you have, how much time you have. It's a bunch of different variables. So I wouldn't be the person to go around telling somebody, hey, that's wrong, or don't do this or do that. Do what works for you, man. You know.
Well, I'm saying, I would say you were wrong. I would say him because it depends where they are. Because again, if they have 1,500 houses, maybe I'm not gonna tell that to the person, because I mean he acquired, like, still created the wealth for himself with that. But
Yeah.
if a person just looking to get started, that would be like, man, maybe it's a wrong thing. Again,
Yeah.
looking where we are in the market cycle, if you're gonna start flipping now, which is like you have to do things fast, and if you don't
Yeah.
have a clue what you're doing, you're gonna be losing a lot of money.
Yeah.
It could be an option.
Definitely.
So that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's not the right time, and just so what will be like? Let's say, what was your steps personally when you transitioned from flipping to the multifamily, which is a completely different game, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm gonna be 100% completely honest, man. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Look, I don't know if everybody who came on this podcast told you that, but
everybody.
so I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it just really just changed my mindset on a whole lot of things.
Mm,
And so I just put everything down on paper. Like I said, I had a really good contractor, a really good broker that I was working with, and we just kind of talked, man. It was like, okay, well, what's going to be the strategy over the next few years, And so I decided to myself go ahead to a boot camp, Rod's boot camp, Rod Cleve's boot camp, and
yeah.
kind of get involved and put myself in the proximity with these people who had all these doors, or some people just had single family homes trying to get in multifamily. Some people had duplexes, so on and so forth. Just being around those people, it just began to make sense to me which direction I wanted my business to go in,
Hmm.
and multifamily, is really the direction that I wanted to go in, coming from the flipping. Now, the flipping does still generate cash,
Mm,
but from that cash, you want to move that over into buying whole multifamily,
hmm.
So yeah, that was really the process. And it took a little bit of time. It took some time. It took some ups and downs. It took some HVAC units going out. It took some $8,000 repairs that we weren't prepared for, to see that this could go either direction.
Yeah.
And if the market spikes, okay, we might be good. But if it drops, in the middle of everything, and you just spent $10,000 on the roof that you wasn't expecting to do, you messed up. You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? So it's just so many different variables
Oh
there.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean that's why due diligence is one of the processes for
Absolutely.
multifamily, in multifamily space. And sometimes again, you just you can do your best, like
Yeah,
one step at a time, and like the mistakes, like there will come up always. Like
absolutely.
I make so many mistakes, of being as a business owner, like every day. It's
Mhm.
insane, for some of the people that would say like, man, you're just like effing up like every day, but
Yeah,
I know it takes me somewhere because I'm learning, and you do things differently, you approach things differently, and that's where you become a great real estate investor in your case.
yeah,
Again, at the same time, you don't want to fail like by losing people's money, because that's
yeah,
another.
absolutely. That's a big no.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, yeah, yeah,
That's another big part, for real estate syndicators. You invest, again, for people who are watching, you pull all the, like, you pull in the capital, like you raise money from accredited, probably, investors, and you buy these deals. So can we talk about the deals that you're currently have in a pipeline? Because you mentioned one deal with the roof problems or something. So what do you have in a pipeline, what you're currently actually looking on, and like why these deals, why these states, and what do you have as an exit strategy for them as well?
we're looking at a few deals in the pipeline. Not to get too into it. Uh, in the Baton Rouge area, we got a deal we're looking at. We also have a deal between Baton Rouge and New Orleans that we're looking at. These deals are that not too big deals, around 20 units. One is a vacant lot of land that we talked about. Friend Chris there talked about on Sunday, and we're
Chris
looking at
Root?
those. No, no. This is a local friend that I have.
Got it.
But anyway, so we're looking at those deals. What we want to do is on each deal, get into the deal, okay, buy it at a good price. The numbers have to make sense. And that's kind of like that's where a little bit of friction is coming in, because in Louisiana, there are a lot of areas that are in flood zones, okay, and
Mm.
flood zones require flood insurance. So once you factor that flood insurance, that's a lot of time that's a make or break. So we want to go in and buy these deals low enough we can add value to them, right? Increase the income that comes, net operating income,
Mhm.
and possibly refinance it. Sure, like, we're just gonna see how the market gonna go with these deals. But they're in the pipeline right now. We're speaking to a few people right now. The brokers, they rocking ready to go. So we just really trying to negotiate and get these deals right where we want before we purchase them. Now the vacant land is gonna need a lot of work, and this is something that's I'm kind of new dealing with. But we do have we just started the process on it because there's a guy who wants to sell, but he kind of wants to hold on to it. So that's a whole different story. But you know, that's what we got going on right now. We kind of in the middle of something right now too, in the middle of a little bit of a transition. So we kind of got to wait till that process ends so we can jump on into something else. So it's a lot going on, man. I tell you.
What do you think? What do you think with the land? Like, are you planning developing any units onto that, or are you just gonna flip the land itself, or what is the strategy with that one?
The strategy would be to build a few 4-unit apartment buildings on it, just a few, because it's quite a bit of land there. So we want to see what we got. It's been subdivided already into a few 2-acre lots already, but a lot of the rest of it has not been subdivided. It's just land, you know. So we're still kind of drawing everything up right now. We know exactly where we want to get started, but you know, the landowner, if he wants to jump back into it, he's talking about building a subdivision there, which is quite possible, but I'm not sure if he knows everything that goes into that. So, you know, it's kind of going to be an exciting project as we get this ball rolling on it, you know?
Yeah. It's going to be something new for you guys, you know, to play around and get more experience onto that as well.
Absolutely,
So,
absolutely, man.
Yeah. That is good. That is awesome. You know, like what would be your like main kind of priority? Are you leaning towards more construction? Because I know you have a background in that as well. Are you going to be leaning towards multifamily where you don't have to construct anything? Like what is like 50-50, 70-80? Like what is the
It's
main
going
focus?
to definitely right now it's going to be multifamily, man, and you
Uh-huh.
know, value add multifamily coming over the next year or so. It's going to be all value add multifamily. Now, the new development, new construction, there are a few people, and I would say this is really a people business, and who you know, when you're talking to people, you have to get, whatever you can get from other people because you can't do it by yourself. If it was me, man, I'd just be so lost. So just enlisting, people with the experience and who know how to do work on these different developments, because in the construction and remodeling, it's just boom, 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 because I've done it. I can knock that out. But when it comes to new development, you got all these different moving parts with, subdividing and, equipment. What's that I'm looking for? The lots and the lands, government, what's going on with the government at the time, municipality, plumbing, sewer. It's just so many different things that goes into it. So with that being said, we're still enlisting people with experience, before we go all the way in with that. So
Got it.
right now, like I say, multifamily, value add, that's really the main focus.
And that's going to be Baton Rouge and same
Yeah,
states, same states.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is awesome. Again, multifamily is a great vehicle again for people to be investing in.
Absolutely.
I do believe it. That's why I wear, the cash flow, because one day we just decided, my wife was like, look, we having our own 2 different businesses, like we're running places, we're looking to scale it. We just don't have the time physically to start something.
Right, right.
Particular like real estate. Like I work with real estate companies, like it very closely, but but we don't do any physical like work beside like social media and so I don't see like, again, it's for the people who are watching and thinking like, man, like it's sexy, like real estate is sexy. It's sure sexy, like, but you don't have to own it. You
Right.
know, you don't have to marry to it, because then then you're gonna have these daily problems. You're gonna, you know, it's tenants, man. Like tenant, it's
Yeah.
people in it. You have to have the management. You have to have the right underwriting. You know, you have to do due diligence process, which is what you
Sure.
mentioned.
Hmm.
Problems come up unexpectedly after that. So, I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot
Yeah.
moving pieces, particularly in syndication.
Yeah.
Maybe in
Yeah.
flipping, you still can use a lot. You know, you still can lose a bunch of money in there as well.
Oh
So,
yeah.
what would you give type of advice again for people who are watching, but they still want to be involved actively in the deals? That's why we're watching the show. It was like,
Yeah.
Martin, give us some advice. So, what will be your one piece of advice for people who are looking to get started out?
I say take action. Now, when I say take action, I mean calculated action. I don't mean just go out here and spend $30,000 on a house that's burnt down and now you don't know what to do with it. I just lost your money, you know. Or if you do, or if you are able to do something with that, you're not going to make back as much as you thought you would. When I say take action, I mean just go out there, you know, get educated, you know, read you some books, uh, immerse yourself at a RIA, at a meetup, or go out there and they have countless things. You don't have to have a college education to do any of these things. You don't
Yeah,
have to, you know, you don't have to have $1 million even. You know, there's a lot of people who are giving out free education. So educate yourself and do it. Just get out there and do it. And also know your why. Because if you don't know your why, oh my goodness, you'll start, and once you lose a little bit of money, oh man, real estate is the worst thing in the world. I don't want to mess with it. This is, you know, I've seen it on social media. I've heard people say it, even in my community. Oh no, that's scary. Don't, you know, don't do that. But if you know your why, you
yeah,
say it doesn't matter how many times I fail. If I fail, I'm going to keep persevering. I'm going to keep hustling. I'm going to keep getting it,
yeah.
and you'll definitely at some point you're going to see success, you know, where preparation meets opportunity, we have success.
Yeah.
So just keep educating yourself and do something, you know,
Just do it.
jump out there and do something.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
the Nike says, just do it, man. That's
Just
what the
do it.
swoosh is for, man. Just go in and take some action. Like I don't know about taking the calculated risks, but because I think, because I'm just thinking as myself, you know, and hopefully that speaks to the audience as well. Because I'm like, I would be very green coming out into the real estate now
Right.
if I'll do flipping, or if I'm gonna go and pursue the multifamily space. I'll be like, man, I have no clue. So I
Right.
don't think if I can make those calculated risks, because like I would have no clue what I'm doing, and probably I'll
Right.
make some big f ups. Then somebody has to clean it. Like after, it's probably going to be me. So,
Yeah.
you know, and it's going to be that. And social media, what you said, it's man, it's ridiculous. Like social media, people talk, you know, things that they will never say like face to
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
everybody,
Absolutely.
like if you see person and you go and, you know, and there's this profile with a like bird picture, or like, you know, there's no photos, there is no bio, there's nothing, man. Just somebody's hiding behind that, you know. And
Yeah.
so it's BS, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but you definitely, like, coming back to that, like you definitely need people in
Mhm.
life, you know, to like team who will help you, you know, in the business. So coming, like talking about the team, like what would be a key like players that people have to look for when they're looking to build their own real estate team, let's say for a multifamily space? Like what particular people should I go and look for?
Man, for the multifamily space, you definitely going to need people um, who are experienced uh, property managers. I just want to speak to property managers right quick.
Hmm.
If you have a bad property manager, man, you can actually throw your whole asset away. Because you're not, with me being where I live a little ways away from my assets. So with that being said, I can't be there all the time, you know. And if I am able to pass through it, maybe every 2 months or so, you know, just depending on how my work is. So property manager is very, very important. And I'm one to believe that word of mouth, hearing how somebody works from word of mouth versus, just, calling a bunch of property managers trying to figure out who's the best one in the area. I'm telling you, people refer people. When somebody you trust refers somebody, they're putting their name on the line too. Because you don't say, oh, I referred this person to Ace and now this person is not. They're putting their name on the line too. So a good property manager, man, I tell you, make sure that you get your rents on time. Make sure what's going on with the eviction process. Late fees. What's the tenant's responsibilities. Property manager that knows the law in the area pretty well. Man, these things can go a very, very long way. And also a asset manager or project manager, whenever repairing these buildings or repairing these homes or repairing these small apartment buildings, project manager, man, just keep the contractors in line, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I feel like those are some very, very key players. And
definitely agree with the property manager. When do you think it makes sense for somebody to hire one? Because if you have four units, let's say, let's say the land, the vacant land that you have, and you're going to build a fourplex, like, should somebody get a property management for that deal?
It all depends on you and your personal situation. For me, well, it's a no-brainer. One unit in the area that I'm not close to, property manager. That's just me personally. Some people are, okay, I got a tenant that's just the best tenant in the world, and I don't need a property manager. They didn't pay, right. I trust these people. Look at, whatever floats your boat, I'm cool with that. But I'd much rather have a property manager who's about their business, who don't, in a sense, they don't play. Because people are people, man. And that's just what it is. Like I said, it's a people business. So, you expect the best, but prepare for the worst.
For sure. Because if you ask, any property manager, can you tell me a few horror stories? And they will tell you, listen, I'll have this book. It's about this thick. Not like really, because I mean, it's the problems, man. Because everywhere, like in business, in world, like if you're watching this, you're gonna go to work tomorrow, or you're gonna go and open your office door. You're a business guy or whatever. Like all the problems that will arise that day, it will be because of a people. Because and it's, I'm not saying like it's a bad thing. We need to handle all these problems, and maybe while you find out how to buy this fourplex, and now you need to learn a brand new thing, which is how to manage the property now. So maybe it would just make sense.
Yes, no brainer.
From financial, well, I asked you that question because maybe from financial standpoint, because probably some of you are aware that property manager is going to charge you a little bit more, percentage wise. Let's say that could be like 10% instead of 3%, gross, let's say from, 100 unit, property.
Right.
But still, like, if you make sense, if you want to avoid these problems,
definitely worth it. Pay those people. And in this business here, I've said it before, it's a people business, whether you're leasing to people, whether you're selling to people, whether you're hiring people. But you cannot do this business alone. I want to tell you, I'm one that you can't do it alone. And you may think you can because that's just the way that you grew up or was raised. I do everything myself. Real estate, especially multifamily, you need a solid team. And you have to learn to delegate to other people. Because if you decide, oh man, I want to do this task, I want to do that task, I'm going to have migraines every day. And you'll never be able to do it as well as you should, just because this business is for people. It's multiple people. It's a team sport.
Unless it's a podcast and it's just me and you. So then I'm alone. There's no team after, so maybe once they're gonna be cutting the episodes, then there's gonna be a team. But now it's just me, So there will be those moments when you have to handle stuff just by yourself. and there will be no team. And maybe those moments going to be a little bit lonely, and you will be like, oh my God. And so whatever, man, just go through it. But the teamwork is, it will make the dream work. You know, the quote is old, it's boring for some people, but it's the truth, you know? So talking about, again, from social media standpoint, because like we have a company, we provide service for real estate companies only. We work, as I mentioned, closely with a lot of real estate companies, different asset classes. And like, I see the problem. That's why we created this business quite a while now, and that we work in. But first of all, when we created it, we seen the problem that a lot of real estate companies are not using social media approach in the right way. So what will be like your perspective about social media? What do you think? Would it help like not just your company, other companies to raise more capital, again, awareness? And like, is that even necessary in this day and age? What do you think?
Man, 2020, the social media is everything. It is everything. You know, we go to places, we talk to people in person, and it feels really good to meet people in person. I think that's a staple in, you know, getting that relationship. But where does it start? You know, it starts on social media. Yeah, definitely. So yes, it is necessary for businesses to be visible on social media, to be visible on the internet. And, you know, what you guys are doing is adding value. You're adding a lot of value with your business. You know, you're looking to help people, especially businesses, to get that exposure, you know, to get that exposure that they may not have or they may not be able to create on their own. So yeah, I definitely think it's necessary.
Yeah. And the entire, like, look, the entire story is very simple. Like, there's no brainer. It's common sense. Like, that's why we push our, you know, marketing efforts towards, you know, getting more clients on board or whatever. That's expanding the company, getting more people on board, you know, that works with us. And, you know, it's just because what's going to happen in the next 5 or 7 or 10 years, like I'm talking about the downturn, the ugly, the bad. Like, nobody knows how long is that going to happen. But once it's going to happen, it's going to be quite a long time. If you ever study any financial, economical good book, because there is a lot of, you know, bad books. I'm talking about university schools. I mean, grab a good book and just study about financial cycles, the markets, how they work. We're going to have quite a long, you know, winter now. So what's going to happen in that time? People will stop spending money. And it doesn't matter if it's just a consumer, business owner, like everybody will stop, you know, spending money, and definitely will stop investing. So you if you want to, like, and that's like, imagine 5, 7, 10-year period. So what it means, like, your business is going to stop. It's not going to be everybody, of course, because there will be a lot of money there will be a lot of people who would take advantage of a downturn and they're going to make a lot of money. But you know, at the same time, it will be scarcity. It will be scarcity. So, and that's what we're saying. If you push your marketing efforts right now, before it happens, and you create your brand awareness by building the storytelling, why your company is great, just, you know, and that's why we do these interviews different, guys. And, you know, by the way, we do them because we want Ace to tell his story again, because if people, again, as I mentioned, people relate to you. Man, that's it. They're going to go and invest with you. But, you know, what's going to happen? People will not go to the restaurants, go and eat the fancy steaks, you know, 100 bottle of wine or whatever. They're going to sit at home, order takeaway. They're going to turn on TV. But instead of watching TV, everybody's going to go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And if they're going to see you and your company all over the place, they'll be like, man, maybe you need to start having this conversation where we're going and passively invest in some deals. Because people always have money, and you probably agree. People will spend the money for the things that they want to do. They will find the money. They will borrow the money. So, you know, it's just a matter of getting their attention and saying, like, hey, look, you need to do this thing. So that's why it's very important now, you know, to position yourself before it happens. So, you know, like, talking about the business, you know, we covered a few things, but I would like to go a little bit more in depth. Like, as you probably know, I love talking like mindset and the books, all of those things. So first of all, if we maybe start with the mentors, do you agree that somebody should get a mentor? Like, what was your experience with the mentors? Because you mentioned you went to the Rothcliffe's event. So did you ever hire the mentor, or do you think it helps or not? Like, what is the approach here that people should take?
I definitely feel like it depends on where you're at with your business, your time, you know, even your finances. You know, everybody can't afford $10,000, $20,000 mentor. You
Yeah.
know, but there are mentors out there who can be your unofficial mentor. You know, if you attach yourself to them, you may have to add value to them in some type of way. You know, you may have to go get them coffee every day. I've heard people not getting paid a whole month or a whole year, you know, just going knocking on doors. And then, you know, they were hired on by, it's a bunch of different ways you can attach yourself to people who can be a mentor without paying them. Now,
Yeah.
if you feel like, you know, that's something that you would like to do, you know, is pay that amount of money to get a mentor, I do honestly feel like that's your decision. You know, that may be, you know, where you that may be where you stand in life.
Yeah.
You know, when you're ready to take the action, you have the money, you know, you're ready to make this drastic change. But, you know, I definitely feel like you should vet them. I've heard you say that before. You really need to know who you know, who you're working with, who you're dealing with, you know,
Yeah.
before you do something like that. Somebody take your money, you know?
Yeah. 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 Definitely. Like mentor can like 10x the growth for the business
Yeah.
and yourself. Just expand the mindset,
Yeah.
because that's like, and you know yourself, like, because my next question will be the books, and maybe you can recommend. But like the mentor is just that person who actively is involved in the deals. He's doing the business, he's running that daily basis, but he has this different perspective on things that, you know, before you come in any business or the job, maybe you don't have that perspective at that moment, and somebody has to kind of guide you, you know, hold your hand for a while until you get this.
Yeah.
So, you know, talking about the books, again, great subject. You know, I think a lot of people love that. I see a lot of like stuff. People now read a lot, which
Yeah.
is strange, man. Like, look, like when I was growing up, smoking was sexy. Now
Yeah.
people read books, and that's sexy now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That is awesome. I love the times, man. Times are really great. All this information, I love it. So, what do you think? Like 3 business, non-business books, personal development. What you would recommend for people from your own experience?
Well, my favorite personal development motivational book is actually the Bible. I find so much motivation in the Bible, man. And I'm not just saying this to be cliche. You know, that's got to be my number one. Um, Chris Voss wrote a book, Never Split the Difference. I don't know if you've ever read or heard of it, but that book,
Yeah,
man, I have read that book multiple times. And it's another book by Isaac Miller. It's called Just Get Up and Manifest Your Inner Genius. So I think those have to be my top 3 books, and I'm reading quite a few other books right now and have read them. But you know, I like some of the stuff that Bigger Pockets has. They have some really good books. They real practical, man. I tell you, you know, especially dealing with tenants and different stuff, dealing with them. You got so many variables when you deal with your tenants. You know,
yeah.
it's a whole different ball game.
How to
You
handle
know,
a
so
situation? Number 1, the dog ate
yeah,
my check.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, coming back to the property management, right? I mean, it's
yeah,
insane. You
yeah.
you need to get a property management at some
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So
If you really want to scale your business, if you really want to scale your buy and hold business, just go ahead and get a property manager. You know,
yeah,
that's an opinion from me. I'm not gonna get that opinion, but that's a headache that you may choose not to want to deal with is
yeah,
directly dealing with the tenant.
definitely. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. Like with the Bible, like a few things that I want to definitely mention, because anybody who you're watching, like, I don't care your religion, whatever you believe in, I always tell the people you have to believe in something, even if it's not God, if it's just you or the spouse or the dog, like whatever. Pick a thing, but believe in something, because that will give
Absolutely.
you a lot of drive. And like if you read the Bible, because I remember it's a very short story, because my previous business owner, he said, listen, he asked me, do you believe her? Like I said, yeah. So he said, look, if you're a believer, there's 2 people, 1 believer, 1 non-believer, and everybody's reaching for the same goal. Both of these people are going to reach the goal, but the believer will do it faster.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, because of the belief that he
Yeah,
has. So it's the truth,
absolutely.
man. And you can find a lot of great business lessons in the Bible as
Oh
well. So
man, so many,
so
so many.
many,
That's
man.
my
Yeah.
favorite.
Awesome,
Not
awesome.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great wife, man. So, before we gonna wander off doing our thing as always, the things that we do, maybe you can share some of the, again, coming back to the social media platforms that you have for people to get in contact with you if they want to ask some real estate questions, investing questions, what those would be.
Okay, you can find me on Facebook at Ace Dunn. On Instagram, my ADM page is adm.eq. That's ADM Equity, but adm.eq. And the other Instagram page for Oasis Properties, that's where we mainly focus on our multifamily business assets and teaching, is OACESPROP at Instagram.com. You can find a lot of good stuff on there, a lot of definitions, stuff that you may not know about the market. We focus on trying to educate people in that direction there.
Is that on Instagram, Oasis Properties?
Yeah, OACESPROP.
Yeah, Property Group LLC.
Yeah.
If I'm not, maybe it's not that one, but I'm gonna find it. No, it's not that one, but I'm gonna find it because I need to go and subscribe to you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome, man. I love definitely the story, and people, I think, they feel exactly the same as I do. So I really appreciate the time today, spending. Hopefully we can connect
Oh
sometime
yeah.
in the future again.
Yeah,
Do a
yeah.
double take, to talk, again, something exciting that's going on in your life. The portfolio that you're going to have by that time is probably going to be big, man. It's going to be big, right? You're going to be doing some great stuff. I can feel that, man. So,
Definitely looking forward to it, man.
yeah, so really appreciate the time, guys. You already know what to do. You can find all the links down below. Get in contact with Ace. Go check it out, his website, Instagram, for free educational content. Learn about real estate investing. Why is it good? Why you should be investing, and everything. It's no brainer, right? So I appreciate for you tuning in and spending these 40, whatever time is flying, man, minutes.
Yeah.
And guys, as always, we're gonna see you on the next episode. Thanks.